Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauravakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 7 Chapter 1 Verse 26 Tasmad Vairānubandhena Nirvairena Bhayena Va Snehat Kamena Va Yunjat Kathanchinekshate Pratak. Very important verse. Therefore, by enmity or by devotional service, by fear, by affection or by lusty desire, by all of these or any of them, if a conditioned soul somehow or other concentrates his mind upon the Lord, the result is the same, for the Lord, because of his blissful position, is never affected by enmity or friendship. The next verse. Yeah, and then he gives examples of. Yeah, so by enmity, by devotional service, by fear, by affection, by lusty desire, by any of these or all of these, if a conditioned soul somehow or other concentrates his mind upon the Lord, the result is the same. Because of his blissful position, Lord is never affected by enmity or friendship. From this verse, one should not conclude that because Krishna is unaffected by favorable prayers or unfavorable blasphemy, one should therefore blaspheme the Supreme Lord. This is not regulative principle. Bhakti Yoga means Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam. One should serve Krishna very favorably. This is the real injunction. Here it is said that although an enemy thinks of Krishna unfavorably, the Lord is unaffected by such anti-devotional service. Thus he offers his benedictions even to Shishupala and similarly inimical conditioned souls. This does not mean, however, that one should be inimical toward the Lord. The stress is given to the favorable execution of devotional service, not purposeful blasphemy of the Lord. It is said, Nindam Bhagavata Kshunvams Tat Parasya Janasya Va Tato Na Paiti Yo Yah Topi Yatyadha Sukratach Chutaha. One who hears blasphemy of the Supreme Lord as devotee should immediately take action or should leave. Otherwise, he will be put into hellish life perpetually. There are many such injunctions. Therefore, as a regulative principle, one should not be unfavorable toward the Lord, but always favorably inclined toward him. Shishupala's achievement of oneness with the Supreme Lord was different because Jaya and Vijaya, from the very beginning of their material existence, were ordained to treat the Supreme Lord as an enemy for 3 lives and then return home back to Godhead. Jaya and Vijaya inwardly knew that Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead, but they purposely became his enemies to be delivered from material life. Of course, that was for the pleasure of the Lord, that Jaya and Vijaya committed that offense against the Kumaras. Prabhupada elsewhere writes that this is actually the love of devotees towards Krishna, and that they don't mind being put in hellish condition of life, even if it's going to please Krishna. Like Jaya Vijaya, they were aware of the Lord's what should we say? Can't say need, but his desire to express Virya Rasa. Right, so he wanted to show his valor. So Jaya Vijaya willingly they wanted to They were ready to do whatever it takes for the pleasure of the Lord, even if it means that they're going to be separated from the Lord. Mm. So this is a very, highest stage, topmost stage of devotion, where the devotees don't really care for their own personal happiness, comfort, pleasure, etc. Mm. So, so this is going to come up soon. From the beginning of their lives, they thought of Lord Krishna as an enemy, and even though blaspheming Lord Krishna, they chanted the holy name of Krishna constantly along with their inimical thoughts. Thus, they were purified because of chanting the holy name of Krishna. Of course, this is external. This they becoming purified by the chanting of the holy name is to show the rest of the world that even if somebody is inimical to the Lord is merciful towards them. But internally, or the original philosophy or understanding is that Jaya Vijaya are eternal devotees of Krishna. They just took up that unfavorable position for his pleasure. This is very different from Vritrasura, Chitraketu and Vritrasura. It is to be understood that even a blasphemer can be freed from sinful activities by chanting the holy name of the Lord. But of course, we should understand that this chanting has to be offenseless. Mm, uh, mm. If it is, if the holy name is chanted by a Mayavadi, he will go to hell. Mm. The holy name is chanted by a Mayavadi, then he will go to hell. Apart from that, everybody else will be benefited to the extent of their purity of chanting. Mm. Or purity is lack of aparadha. Impurity is having aparadha. Mm. So we discussed this, that unless one has intentional desire for sense gratification, everybody else will very soon become liberated by chanting the holy name. Liberated means mukti, which is, so if devotees come to Nama Bhasa chanting, then they will get liberated. Who will come to Nama Bhasa? Who is not committing aparadha? Who is committing aparadha? Mayavadi is committing aparadha, and somebody intentionally, uh, constantly running behind material pleasure, and no faith in name. Such a person will not come to Nama Bhasa. Otherwise, everybody else will very soon come to Nama Bhasa. So for us, the process is very simple because we are not inimical to the Lord. We should not be running behind sense gratification. That is okay initially, like as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Artha artharthi jignasu gnani cha bharatarshava. So somebody might come to Krishna because they want something from him, which is okay. Which is like in Bhagavatam says, Kama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena. So even if somebody comes with some desire to Krishna, it's okay as long as they do tivra bhakti, intense devotion. And when they do that, automatically they'll come out of asking Krishna for anything material. Right? So, and the integral part of that process is to chant the holy names of the Lord. So as long as we are trying hard to become free from aham and mama, me and mine mentality, and we are not doing any of the other offenses, 10 other of the 10 offenses, and trying hard to not be inattentive during chanting, in course of time, we will become freed from all sinful activities. So unless one is Mayavadi, or they don't have faith in the holy name, and they're just chanting holy name as a means to an end, and that end is material sense gratification. These people are offenders. They are the aparadhis, nama aparadhis. Generally, there's a misunderstanding in ISKCON about who a nama aparadhi is. These are the gross nama aparadhis. Then most of us are helpless. Again, I'm saying as long as we are not running behind material sense pleasure, we are helplessly committing offenses, which is okay. The solution for that is more chanting. Right? So which means that we will be guaranteed to definitely come to Nama Bhasa. Now, from Nama Bhasa, whether we are going to go to Shuddha Nama or not, that totally depends on our desire, our association, what we hear, what, etc., etc., right? So many things, surrender, etc., right? But coming to Nama Bhasa should not be a big challenge for sincere devotees. So yeah, so powerful the holy name that even a blasphemer, but as long as he's not a Mayavadi, this is the most important thing. Somebody can blaspheme Krishna, but you should not think that Krishna is imaginary. So Krishna is made of Maya. Such people can also be delivered by chanting the holy name of the Lord. See, Kamsa, so inimical. Shishupala was so inimical, but they were not Mayavadis. So they were also delivered. But Mayavadis will go to hell. So we have to be very, very careful. Yesterday I was talking to some devotee and he's hearing somebody in India, right? So many people keep speaking on the internet. And he was hearing from somebody and he was saying, a person was speaking very nicely about something from Ramayana. But the problem is that Prabhupada says, right, these people are very, very talented. They can attract huge crowd, etc. But internally, they just don't think that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. They just think of him as illusion. So we have to be very careful from whom we hear. Pastimes might be very, very sweet and this and that and all that, but they don't accept who Krishna's original position, then they're offenders, and we have to be careful. We should not be hearing from such people. Certainly, therefore, freedom is assured for a devotee who is always favorable to the service of the Lord. Very important. Freedom is assured. Prabhupada is assuring freedom. This will be clear from the following verse. By rapt attention fixed upon Krishna, one is purified, and thus one is delivered from material life. See, the important point here is rapt attention. See, which is why these words, we have to be very, very clear. We have to hear with we have to hear with rapt attention. The words that Srila Prabhupada has used specifically in his purports have a clear purpose, right? So Prabhupada is not saying by hearing simply. He's not just saying by hearing about Krishna or by hearing Krishna. He's saying rapt attention fixed upon Krishna. Very, very lot of emphasis given to that attention. Then one becomes purified. So the quality of our chanting is very, very important, and even when we are in kirtan, somebody's doing kirtan, again, it's not for musical enjoyment. It's for hearing the nama. And of course, if the nama is pure, meaning somebody who is actually doing the kirtan is on the platform of pure devotion or en route to pure devotion with the intention of pure devotion, then even that nama, if heard with rapt attention, can have huge impact. Huge impact. And one can get purified. Like we've discussed this before, right? Other angas of devotion are actually not, in one sense, not required. Because like Prabhupada said that, chanting Hare Krishna is majority of our progress, right? It depends on our chanting Hare Krishna. But my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, is spoken in lecture saying that there is no kirtanam without shravanam. Why is that? There is no kirtanam without shravanam, which basically means that if we don't know Krishna, what can we glorify? What we don't even know who Krishna is. We don't even know what Krishna wants. We don't know anything about Krishna. We've not heard about Krishna. Then our chanting will be okay, but it's not going to take us to highest levels, right? So and of course, if a devotee is sincerely chanting Krishna's names, and then Krishna will create situations so that he can hear about Krishna from exalted souls, or if that opportunity is not there at all, Krishna very fair, very mercifully, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, he reveals things from within. if somebody is very, very sincerely, purely chanting. But Shravanam is very, very important. I've been, emphasizing this. Srila Prabhupada gave us Krishna book, and he writes in the preface saying that anyone who reads this book is going to get Krishna Prema. Why is that? Because again and again, yeah, people, they struggle to read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, too much of philosophy, this, that, and all that. But what about Krishna book? It's just free flowing nectar, right? So anybody who repeatedly reads Krishna book again and again and again and again, and sure to get Krishna Prema, because they are going to associate with Krishna with rapt attention, because chanting, our attention might go here and there, but when we are reading about Krishna, it's the beautiful pastimes of Krishna, mind is not going to go anywhere. It's going to be fixed in that hearing. And just that constant association, we need that constant association with Krishna. And the more we associate with Krishna through Shravanam Kirtanam, the more we'll be purified. Of course, we can also do Archanam, but it requires qualification. Only qualified devotees can do deity worship, right? But Shravanam Kirtanam, all of us can do. So it's very, very important that whatever devotional service we do, we should do it with rapt attention. Yeah, so we can go on and on this topic, but yeah, I think we've discussed this multiple times. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has very nicely explained the word bhayena, which means by fear. When the gopis went to Krishna in the dead of night, they certainly feared chastisement by their relatives, their husbands, brothers, and fathers. But nonetheless, not caring for their relatives, they went to Krishna. Okay, we should not imitate this. We should not imitate the gopis. Suddenly devotees would decide, okay, I'm going to give up my family. I'm going to go away from here. No, we can't do that. Of course, there will be signs of that, and then that if somebody wants to do something like this, that they have to consult their spiritual master to make sure that they're just not, it's not some mental concoction and it's really their inner state, and then follow the instructions of Guru. But gopis were beyond that, right? We read from Chaitanya Charitamrita the position of gopis. It's inconceivable, it's just inconceivable. If gopis are looking at themselves in the mirror, they're not seeing themselves, in the sense that they're just seeing how Krishna is going to see us, right? So we can't imagine their position. So we should not just try to say, okay, gopis did, so I will also do. No. In our fallen conditioned state, we have to first do our duties. To give us an example, Raghunath Das Goswami tried multiple times to run away from Grihastha ashram, right? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I mean, he had to repeatedly, and once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, don't be like a fool, don't act like a fool, go back and do your duties, nishkama, without desire, do your duties. Externally, he said, like, be like a Vishayi, because Raghunath Das Goswami was born in a business family, right? So, meeting different people, etc., etc. He said, like, just be like normal, like they expect you to be in your family. But internally, be completely fixed in Krishna. Be like a Vishayi means, doesn't mean that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not asking Raghunath Das Goswami to engage in sense gratification, but he's saying, just do your duty and be as normal as possible externally, right? So that people don't shy away, run away from us. It's very, very important, actually. Sometimes devotees become overly transcendental. What does overly transcendental mean? Overly transcendental means beyond our adhikara. We are not there yet. But in some sense, escape route. I'm just going to become like a little bit careless about my family. Why? Because, it's just pain. But that's not devotion. If you say I become careless about family because I don't have time for my family, I'm so, like drowned in Krishna consciousness that I really don't have time to give them. That is okay. That is acceptable, understandable. Again, there some balance has to be there, because see, once we are devotees and there are others also in the house who are devotees, or they are not devotees, for both, in both cases, if our spouse etc. at home are not devotees, then if we are a real devotee, we will have compassion towards that atma and say, okay, somehow I have to help this person become a devotee. Now we can't say that, okay, I'm going out and preaching, but I'm not going to help people at home, which is doesn't seem right. Correct? So if people at home are not a devotee, then it becomes our first responsibility to try to help them, try to be compassionate towards them. If somebody is a devotee, how can you be careless towards a Vaishnava or a Vaishnavi? Right? So either way, this being irresponsible at home is a sign of somewhat, it's a mixed ignorance. It's not completely, we are not we are not in knowledge. So gopis were not like that. They had no time for anything else. They had no mind space for anything else. They were just like sold out to Krishna. If we are also reached that stage, then we can do what they are doing. Mm. But yeah, generally we have to be very, very careful. Just running away from responsibilities is not going to help us, because possibly that's the way for our purification. So we have to be sober. We have to take superior guidance, especially if we are in trouble, if we are, troubled by family situations, etc., etc. We need to take guidance from other senior devotees who are also in gone through Grihastha life, etc. And then make sure that we don't do mistakes. It's very, very important. And this devotee who's come to na sochati na kangshati, right? Who's not lamenting, who's not desiring anything from his material life, will live on this platform. Because he understands, right, that this is liberation. And if you don't come to liberated state, then mad bhaktim labate param. Pure devotion is not going to happen. Mm. So we should always remember this. All situations in our life, if we are a surrendered devotees, Krishna's mercy. I keep repeating this because if we keep forgetting, every situation in the life of a pure devotee who is completely surrendered to Krishna. Pure devotee means just surrendered to Krishna's and without any material motive, ulterior motive. Every situation in such a devotee's life is simply the mercy of the Lord to bring the devotee closer. That's all. Right? Krishna is just doing that to bring him closer to himself. That's all. So we should not look at these situations in with any other vision, in any other way. Of course, for the gopis, there's certainly fear, but this fear could not check their devotional service. Now, I don't want to name the devotee, but so a devotee very recently had a accident. Mm, Car was smashed, etc. But he's just going on with his devotion. No stoppage, no lamentation. Okay, something happened. Okay, whatever insurance is going to give, is going to give. But my services go on. It's very, very important. Very nice. We should be in that. We should be in that surrendered state. Where we're not so much affected by our material situation. It's okay. We should understand. Okay, something. Lord knows why this happened, and then just go on without getting too bogged down by our material situation. Very, very exalted, very, very high, very good quality. Very difficult for many of us to develop that quality. So we should be like that. We should just be surrendered, depend on Krishna like a child is dependent on parents, right? That's all. That's the simple way to think of surrender. If somebody wants to understand what surrender is, just think about how a child depends on parents. That's all. That's surrender. One should not mistakenly think that Lord Krishna must be worshipped by an inimical attitude like that of Shishupala. The injunction is anukulyasya it's another verse. Anukulyasya grahanam pratikulyasya varjanam. Okay. Similar but different words. One should give up unfavorable activities and accept only favorable conditions in devotional service. Generally, if one blasphemes the Supreme Person of Godhead, he is punished. The Lord says, Tanam dvishata kruran samsareshu naradaman kshipami ajasram ashubhaman asureshveva yonishu. There are many such injunctions. One should not try to worship Krishna unfavorably. Otherwise, he must be punished, at least for one life, to be purified. Or even his devotee, like it happened in Chitraketu's case. Right? As one should not try to be killed by embracing an enemy, a tiger or a snake, one should not blaspheme the Supreme Personality of Godhead and become his enemy in order to be put into hellish life. The purpose of this verse is to emphasize that even the enemy of the Lord can be delivered, not to speak of his friend. Srila Madhvacharya also says in many ways that one should not blaspheme Lord Vishnu through one's mind, words, or actions, for a blasphemer will go to hellish life along with his forefathers. Karmana manasa vacha yodvishyad Vishnumavayam majjanti pitarastasya narake shashvati tamaha. In Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Tanaham dushata kruran. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demoniac life, such persons can never approach me. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. This is a punishment. One who blasphemes the Lord is put into a family of asuras, in which there is every chance of forgetting the service of the Lord. So, it's very, very important. Only Shravanam can help. Somebody who's a blasphemer, somehow, if he hears something from the mouth of a pure devotee, he can be benefited. But we have to be ready to hear. And unfortunately, these asuras, they don't want to hear. Which is why Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, don't disturb them. Somehow make them, engage them in some form of service. Some form of service. It could be like material also. I mean, seemingly material. For example, suppose say, there's some construction of a temple to be done. And maybe then there are some people who are not really devotees or, they might. But somehow just engage them in service to Krishna, right? But if we tell them saying the chant Hare Krishna, surrender to Krishna, etc., that's not going to work. They can't understand all that. But just simply engage them in some acts of devotion. Krishna further states in Bhagavad Gita, Avajananti mam mudhat manushim tanamashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Mudhas, rascals, blaspheme the Supreme Lord because he appears exactly like a human being. They do not know the unlimited opulence of the Supreme Person of Godhead. Mogasha, Moga Karmana, Moga Gnana Vichetasaha, Rakshasim Asurim Chaiva, Prakritim Mohinim Shritaha. Anything done by those who have taken the attitude of enemies will be baffled. Mogasha. If these enemies try to be liberated or to merge into the existence of Brahman, which is Mayavadis, if they desire to be elevated to the heavenly planetary systems as karmis, or even if they desire to return home back to Godhead, they will certainly be baffled. So if should not become an enemy of Krishna, that's the whole point here. But still, those who come in contact with Krishna are so fortunate, right? Like all those enemies who came in touch with Krishna got liberated. But those who don't come in touch with Krishna and remain enemies of Krishna are destroyed. Right? They'll go down, down, down till a devotee shows mercy. Which is why we keep saying that devotees have to go out. Devotees can't be sitting inside the house, inside the temple. Then how will those unfortunate souls get mercy? So we have to go out. Somehow or the other, we have to go out. Otherwise, no hope for such souls. As for Hiranyakashipu, although he was extremely inimical towards Supreme Person of Godhead, he always thought of his son, who was a great devotee. Now, this is another option. If somebody doesn't come in direct contact with the Supreme Lord, but he comes in direct contact with a devotee, he is benefited. Therefore, by the grace of his son Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu was also delivered by the Supreme Person of Godhead. The conclusion is that one should not give up pure devotional service for one's own benefit. One should not imitate Hiranyakashipu or Shishupala. This is not the way to achieve success, but Even those people, even those you know sinful people were also liberated because somehow they came in touch with Krishna or Krishna's devotees. So they were just fortunate. Of course, Hiranyakashipu and Shishupala were the plan of the Lord, so they came in touch with Krishna and Krishna's devotees. But real blasphemers might not come in touch with Lord or his pure devotee because every opportunity they get, they will possibly want to blaspheme. So, and devotees like Madhyamadikari stays away from atheists and definitely offenders because it's going to result in them doing more offenses, right? So we better be far away from such people. So somehow they have to get some mercy, right? Mm. Because even a Madhyamadikari will be careful to deal with atheists. Yeah, somehow they have to get some mercy. Mm. Prasadam is one good way. Harinam Sankirtan is another good way. Especially I know that in Western countries, it's tough for people to directly come in touch with philosophy. Right? Of course, there'll be some seekers, jignasus, seeking inquisitive, but most of them are sense gratifiers. And yeah, so the only hope is Harinam and Prasadam. And for the little bit more, maybe Sattvic ones, they will possibly, you know, yeah, we are ready to accept books, etc. But somehow we have to just figure ways to distribute mercy. That's the key. And for our own sake, we should make sure that we are never unfavorable towards Krishna. Being unfavorable towards Krishna, being unfavorable towards Guru, towards exalted Vaishnavas, all the same. So which is why in ton offenses there is sadhu ninda, there is Guru Ravagya. So we have to be careful about all this and do favorable devotional service. But the Lord is very merciful. We have to remember this, right? Even for devotees who by chance fall down, abhi chet su duracharo, bhajate mam ananya bhak, right? If we are doing bhajate mam ananya bhak, if we are ananya, if you're doing ananya bhakti, not going here and there, only completely stuck to Krishna, mm, even if we do some mistake by chance, and very, very important that this is not intentional uh, sinful activity, right? Unintentional, meaning just carried away by previous samskaras, our previous our conditioning. Sometimes we might just fall. But if we are ananya bhak, if we are constantly engaged in trying to serve Krishna for his pleasure, then Krishna is saying sadhu reva samantavya. Still treat him as a devotee, as a sadhu, right? But that's not preferred mode, right? We should be engaged in devotional service. But others are also benefited. Krishna doesn't make any distinction, right? He's happy to help every jiva because every jiva is his aham bija pradapita. So he is the father. Mm. But of course, then some devotees are more exalted than others. Like, mm, so there is affection. So there's another verse which will come where Narada Muni is going to explain by example, possibly next few verses. He says that Pandavas by affection, gopis by lusty desire, and ordinary devotees like us by devotional service. And then some crazy guys who want to do enmity and fear, right? Shishupala and people like Kamsa. But so we have also option. We have option. We have three options in this verse. Mhm. So we can one do um, normal devotional service like Narada Muni is saying like us. He's talking about himself, but of course, now this is the path of Vaidhi Bhakti. So just devotion is Vaidhi Bhakti. Then we can go into little more higher stages. So this is mostly dasya. mm, And just when you just said devotional service, mostly dasya. Then we can go into affection, sakya. mm, Or we can go into the topmost platform, which is madhurya, which manifests as for the uninitiated, for most who don't understand what this is, it looks like lusty desire. but that's the topmost, right? So so we also have a choice. We know that we should definitely not adopt enmity or fear, but we can do either Vaidhi Bhakti, be Dasya, or we can look for higher stages, higher platforms. Not look for, as in, yeah, those stages are available. And then, yeah, either Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, topmost being Madhurya, which is normally misunderstood. Okay, so I think I'll just stop here. If anybody has any questions, comments. Anything?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Yeah,
Dandavad Pranam
yeah,
Prabhuji.
yeah.
Prabhuji, you said that Mayavadis do not have the right to take the for someone like who studied from childhood Mayavadi books and someone who have taken up the path of devotion. My journey has been like that only. In 2015, I just got.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, if you are previously you were in, I mean, you were associated with Mayavadis or whatever. I mean, you're by birth you were in that kind of an environment.
Yes,
But the important thing is now what you are. See,
that
Mayavadis can also be delivered. Haridas Thakur also talks about this in Harinam Chintamani, saying that as long as they become favorable, they come in association of devotees and they are ready to give up their Mayavad thought process, right? Then they can also be delivered. See, the important thing is not the past. The important thing is the present. And Krishna will forgive. Okay, if somebody in ignorance has done something thinking that this is what it is, but then they came onto the right path and they repent for their mistakes that they've done in the past. Krishna is very, very merciful.
uh, just one question, Prabhu. Like this sometimes whenever I mess up some things, I just find this mental. The root cause is like coming from that mentality of that Mayavadi mentality somewhere that I want to control. I want to. So all this mentality is somewhere
No,
I
that
find
is
that.
not Mayavad. Controlling, wanting to control material nature is our fallen conditioned state. Everybody, all of Prabhupada writes, right? We want to become the Lord of all we survey, which basically means that all of us want to become controllers. I mean, that's why we are here, right? In foolishly, we are here trying to become lords. But that's not Mayavad. You have to understand what is Mayavad. Mayavad means thinking that Krishna's form is material. That's Mayavad. Don't get confused. See, you should be very clear about philosophy. Mayavad doesn't just mean anything. Not Mayavad doesn't mean one who is in Maya. As in, we are all in Maya, so we are not Mayavadis. One who considers Krishna in Maya is a Mayavadi. One who Krishna considers Krishna's form as Maya is a Mayavadi. Understand? So don't get confused.
Hare Krishna, Dandavad Pranam.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Next few verses are also very, very critical in the sequence. So tomorrow I'm not here, not in Bangalore. So we'll continue on Monday. Okay. So we will close here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai, Samveta Gaura Bhakta ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you all.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.